All right, folks, Mark Rogers TV, week 6 of our college football predictions. We're not going to get a whole lot of fancy analysis here. We're just going to run them down. Coming off 2-0-1 in our confidence picks against the spread. So listen up for the confidence picks. We are 83-45. 83-45 in the last 3 seasons in our confidence picks against the spread. 83-45. Last week, 2-0-1. Baylor was a push at -21, but we won it with Minnesota plus 13 against Michigan, and also Vanderbilt plus the 18 against Kentucky. So listen up, we've got 2 on the docket. Here we go. Let's start with Florida-Tennessee. Neither team in the top 25, but got to add this game. I'm an old-time college football fan, and Florida-Tennessee still means something to me. So Florida's a 3-point underdog. We like the Gators plus the 3 points. They will win the football game. I trust that Florida Gator front 7 against the Tennessee offensive line. I know that the Gators looked bad on defense against Alabama. BYU, Utah State, no Chucky Keaton, but BYU has held it close against most teams. Utah State's very proud, very fundamental team under Matt Wells. We like Utah State plus the 21 points against BYU. Cougars win the game outright. Ohio State, Maryland. The Terps just a 7.5-point favorite or underdog in their Big Ten home debut against the Buckeyes. Ohio State vulnerable in the secondary, but they will win this one. They will win it by a couple scores. So Ohio State in a decent game against Maryland. Buckeyes win the game -7.5 as well. Oklahoma State, Iowa State. We previewed this one with Robert Wetzel of SB Nation last night. Check out that post. Oklahoma State minus the 17 against Iowa State gets it done at home. So we love the Cowboys in covering 17 against a Cyclone team that does not play well on the road. Florida State, Wake Forest. Wow, I hate these games. 37.5 points. Who knows who's going to be on the field, how hard they're going to be trying, and what the play calls are going to be in the fourth quarter. Florida State minus 37.5 against Wake Forest. Stay away. Wisconsin-Northwestern. Wildcats came out with a huge showing at Penn State last week. Win at 29-6. Biggest win they've had in a year and a half. Wisconsin looks to be possibly the best team in the Western Division of the Big Ten. We will see later this season against Nebraska. Take Wisconsin minus 7.5 against Northwestern. Yes, we know that the Wildcats are at home, and we know that Wisconsin hasn't won there since 1999, but the Badgers get it done, and they get it done by double digits. Wisconsin minus 7.5. Stanford-Notre Dame. Great game. Should be a great game. They've played some good games in recent years. This is turning into a rivalry. They're at Notre Dame. The Irish opened a 2 or 3 point favorite. Now it's Stanford minus 2.5. I don't like that, but I'm taking the Cardinal minus the 2.5. I think they're a more sound football team, and the defense is lights out. Notre Dame will have difficulty scoring. Notre Dame's a quality football team, but this is by far the best test that they have faced this season, while the Cardinal have already seen Washington and USC. Stanford minus 2.5 at Notre Dame. Another really good one here in the Big 12 is TCU for real. I believe that they are. I believe that they'll be a factor in the Big 12 race, but they're playing possibly the best team in college football. Oklahoma minus 5 against TCU. This is going to be a competitive football game, but we slightly like the Sooners to cover 5 points against TCU in this one. Baylor-Texas. We continue with the favorites. Yes, there will be underdogs that will be winning and covering here very soon. Baylor minus 14.5 against Texas. The Bears just can score on anyone at any time. Texas showed us a lot of defense in defeating Kansas 23-0 last week, but take the Bears minus 14.5 in this one. Bama-Ole Miss. This might be the most important game in college football this week. Nebraska-Michigan State. We've got some other ones. Alabama-Ole Miss. People love the Rebels. The point spread for this game has gone down to 4.5. It's in Oxford. Bo Wallace, too many turnovers. He's a tremendous quarterback, but he's susceptible to turnovers. I know Blake Sims is making his first true road start, and Bama may not be quite as dominant on defense as they have been in the past, but they are dynamic on offense, and Ole Miss's defense is extremely good, maybe top 10 in the nation. I like Alabama's run game and their ability to stop the run, especially against a Rebels team that is having issues running the football, only 4 yards per carry. So Rebels can't run. Alabama can with the 3 great backs that they have. Bama minus 4.5 against Ole Miss. Clemson, North Carolina State. Take the Tigers to cover 14 against a North Carolina State team that was game big time at home against Florida State last week. took it to the wire. At the same time, Clemson now refreshed after beating up on North Carolina. NC State's going to be beat up. Clemson minus 14. Back in the SEC, we're just going through the time schedule here. Texas A&M-Mississippi State, a game that I'm looking forward to as well. Mississippi State, I believe, is tougher up front on both sides of the football. I love McKinney, Preston Smith, those guys on defense, Chris Jones as well. I think the secondary can tackle in space, and that's what they're going to have to do against Malcolm Kennedy and company, Ricky Seals-Jones, and those guys for Texas A&M. So follow me here, Mississippi State, Texas A&M plus 2.5 points. Razor close. Hedge this one. Mississippi State wins outright. Texas A&M plus the points. Confidence pick coming up. South Carolina, Kentucky. We like South Carolina on the road. I know. What could the psyche be here? It could be that South Carolina lost that 13-point lead against Missouri at home last week and pretty much dashed their conference championship hopes. Okay, if they can rebound, if Steve Spurrier can pull them together, they're a better football team than Kentucky. Kentucky slopped their way past Vanderbilt. Yes, the Wildcats are improving, but 3.5 points, it's dropped from 10 to 3.5. I know the mojo's with Kentucky at home, coming off a solid victory against an SEC team, their first SEC win in forever. While South Carolina, the psyche's got to be, we blew it. Our season's over. I like the talent in the end to get it done with Dylan Thompson at quarterback. 3.5 points in a confidence pick. South Carolina covers against Kentucky. Another confidence pick. Georgia does not cover 34 points against Vandy. I know the Commodores are horrible. I know Georgia's at home. I know that they've got new life in the Eastern Division race. But Georgia is not going to cover 34 points against Vanderbilt. Take the Commodores plus the 34 against Georgia in a confidence pick. All right, Auburn LSU. Strange things happen in this series. This is usually a marquee game, maybe on the Auburn side, but people giving up on LSU after the Mississippi State loss. And so take LSU plus the 8 points. I know this one's very difficult because Auburn could run away with it, but I can see the Tigers of LSU taking a stand. Still tremendous talent on that roster, and they could keep it close. LSU plus the 8, even with Brandon Harris at quarterback for much of the time against Auburn Tigers. Auburn Tigers on the Plains do win the game. Kansas State, Texas Tech. Wildcats don't typically blow out anyone, especially in the Big 12. Take Texas Tech plus the 14 points, but I like Kansas State to win the game. They're a much sounder, more fundamental football team, and Kansas State under Bill Snyder continues to win and win and win and should be 9-3 this season. USC-Arizona State, the Trojans looking very good against Oregon State last week, and Sean Mannion 35-10. Arizona State, the whole other end of the spectrum. So expect the Arizona State Sun Devils, despite the loss of Taylor Kelly, to bounce back off the debacle on Thursday night against UCLA 62-37. They're going to keep this closer than 12 points. USC wins at home. Arizona State keeps it close. These are two evenly matched football teams outside of the quarterback position, and the Trojans typically don't blow out teams. They're not going to pile up the points. Arizona State plus the 12 against USC. Trojans win the game. Likewise, UCLA, Utah, 13.5 for a very solid UCLA team or Utah team. Take the Utes, even at the Rose Bowl. We think UCLA's legit. Maybe they've started their role. They were very impressive against Arizona State. They've got pretty much everything you need across the board to compete for a national championship, but we like Utah plus 13.5. And finally, Nebraska-Michigan State should be a good one. Sparty at home, and I have no questions about this football team. Defensively, I don't think they're as good as they were last year, but I think they're close. They played Oregon rather well. We keep hearing that. The Ducks have now lost to Arizona. What does that mean? Nebraska's got two major questions for me. The defense, I believe, has much improved over what we've seen get torn up by the Wisconsins and Ohio States over the last few years. They've improved, but Michigan State is much more dynamic than they were just even 7-8 games ago mid-last season. Connor Cook can open it up. They can beat you on the ground. They can beat you through the air. They are a very capable passing team. This is not Michigan State, pedestrian Michigan State of a season ago, early in the season. This is Michigan State that threw 300 on Ohio State and Stanford and threw it on Oregon to the tune of 500 yards total offense. Michigan State at home, covers 6.5. It will be a nice football game, a good football game, but not a classic. Michigan State's better. They win by generally double digits. Sparty, minus 6.5 against Nebraska. Need to hear from you and your predictions on Week 6 right here on Mark Rogers TV.